Hello everyone, hello. Come on in. Welcome to Vegas actually. Let's enjoy for the first guys who are there. Let's enjoy a little bit of a view what we have here as we'll be doing our little workshop from Las Vegas. But the view of the workshop obviously is not going to be as sexy as the pool of Las Vegas, because we're going to be talking about making music, finding answers for young producers who want to get things going like you guys. So hello everyone from Italy to France to Tahiti to we have a friend from Vegas here. He can go in the pool right on. Scotland, Highland, London, yes, Germany, Panama, Brazil, Belgium, beautiful. I love Periscope for that because, well, all our friends from Asia here, Mexico, Portugal, beautiful. My God, Sweden. By the way, if you can keep me updated with the score of the game between Denmark and France, I would love that, because to enjoy this moment with you, I'm skipping this game, which is not so important actually. Anyway, welcome back. First, sorry I couldn't keep up with doing these workshops every week because that's too much, and I just can't combine it with my agenda. But I will definitely keep on doing some as soon as I can, as often as I can. And the good news is for you that we created the workshop, the MartinMusicWorkshop.com, which will also be a good way for everyone to catch up, to re-see the previous episodes, to start to communicate as well, as we're going with these workshops. We'll start to exchange. Oh, hello Japan! I love Japan. We start to exchange some files, which we obviously will start to exchange some IDs, and maybe I can answer your question a bit more directly if I can listen to a little bit of what you guys are doing. So quickly run through what we've been through before. Number one, I said to you guys that it's very important to be special, original, to make something that is unique and very personal. This is, like, to me, a very important idea of making music. The second workshop was about the hook, and about how at the end of the day a track can almost be summed up by a hook or by something that is a very specific melody. Either it's a vocal hook or it's an instrumental hook, but it's a little melody that sticks in your head and that makes the track unique. And so I think it's always good to work a lot on that aspect, and hopefully soon you'll be sending me, actually, if you guys already have hooks that you want to send me, please do it. To do so, just go on MartinMusicWorkshop.com, and there is a little email contact where you can send me your hooks. Please send me hooks. I mean, 30 seconds is enough of music to check a hook, and that's actually the whole idea of it. If you send me a whole track, most of the time when I get demos, I just can't skip, and basically the time that I have for you guys now is 30 seconds. So send me a hook of 30 seconds, and from there, honestly, if it's good, I will see it immediately, and if not, we'll see how we can improve it and how we can make things better, because that's why we're here for. So first, we try to be original. Second, we try to make a good hook, a nice melody, something super simple. It doesn't have to be complicated. And basically, a lot about making electronic music is to keep things on a very simple level, and especially on the hook level and on the melody level. And it's really about It's a lot about the sound. It's one of the aspects that we're going to talk about today. It's a lot about. It's not really about making da 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 da. This is like not very interesting. But of course, if you apply to this melody the right sound, it's going to turn maybe your track into a hit or into a very interesting track, which is the only thing that matters actually. To make your hook sound right, you need to use the right sound, and this is what we're going to talk about today: samples and recordings. Basically, there are no other alternative for you guys. Whatever sound that you're going to drop in your Ableton or in your whatever software you use are going to be either samples or recordings of instruments, vocals, plugs, synth, whatever recording you want to use. If it's like real instruments, like real guitar or bass, or if it's like pure plug-in of synth, but that's I put this in the category recording, and the other category is samples. And so yes, basically, where do I find the right samples? Where do I find the right ingredients to cook my music? The analogy of cooking is not is actually quite right. I mean, making music is a lot like cooking, and the ingredients that you're gonna use to make your recipe. And of course, it has to be your own recipe. If you follow the book, it's going to be boring. The ingredients you use are critical, and they will make all the difference on the final result of your sound. So it's going to be either samples or recordings. The first thing I want to say, I'm going to start with samples. The first thing I want to say about samples is samples are your friend. Samples are basically what most of the electronic music has been made of over the last 30 years. And it's always been like the art of the electronic musicians to use a source, a sample, something that comes from a previous record, and to turn it into something after many treatments, after many different things, to turn it into something that they own. And this is true for everything. This is true for either you want to sample a big loop of a song that already exists, or you want to just sample a snare, a kick drum, the end of the reverb of a guitar that's on a rock recording or whatever, which is something I do a lot. Anything. And of course, one of the way to be special and different is to find the samples that the people have not used before. And so this is the game. This is a game where the best electronic music artists are the best. And so this is something, what I want to say to you guys is, to make good records, you need to be very curious about music. You need to listen to a lot of music, and then listen to a lot of music, and then like a sponge, you're gonna absorb it, and at some point you're gonna press the sponge and something's gonna come out of it. And that's the whole point. So let's do a very quick game. I selected a couple of stuff for you just to see how we can be interesting and specific in using either samples or recording. So the first thing I found was this one. It's a funny one.
We have Mtron's Mellotron plugin. So to Roxy effects. Come over here.
So here is an example
These are the keys.
of
so we got
something that belongs to the category recording, because basically it's like a preset of the Mellotron, and you're gonna recognize.
which is what they've made the tune out of.
Did you recognize the the sample or not? No one got it? Let me play it for you again.
Which is what they've made the tune out of. Here's the rest of the samples that they haven't used.
That's right. So this is the sample. It's a sample and it's a recording at the same time. So that's probably a bad example. And this makes me a very bad teacher. But I'll just explain. This is coming from a synth originally, and so you can just play the sound of the synth, and it's gonna make these notes, these chords, and so that makes it your own, and there is no question of copyright or whatever, because everyone can use any synth and play the melodies and stuff, so that's fine. And so this is obviously a very good pick of the sound of the mellotron to make a track that was used by my very good friend A-Track to make this beautiful piece that's Heads Will Roll, that you've heard already 20,000 times. And it's a very good example of a very catchy, very interesting hook coming from a recording. Now, to the sample part of life, I'm just going to play to you this little... by the way, of course, I love Daft Punk. Everyone loves Daft Punk. So let's just do a quick run through of what they've done on some of their most famous songs. Here is the Daft Punk song. And here is the original. Very, very close. Here is another example. This is like really, really close. And it goes on and on and on. I'm back. And so it goes on and on and on. And so, well, this is like hardcore sampling, obviously. This is like when the sample is gonna be almost half of your song, and you're gonna make your hook out of a loop, which is crazy. But it does exist, and it goes all the way to this. And since you're a young producer, or you have to know something, that everything is allowed. You can steal whatever you want from anyone you want, even Michael Jackson. If you want to do something with Michael Jackson, this is 2015. You can just sample whatever you want. Then, if eventually the recording that you've made, the new recording that you've made, sampling a classic song, if it makes a difference and it's really interesting and it's really good, like we've seen 2,000 versions of Show Me Love by Robin S., for example, then at the end of the day you're gonna share the income of your song with the original, like the Daft Punk are doing on every of their song. Of course, they use like very recognizable and very big samples, so of course they share the revenue with the original artist, which is of course fair enough. And anyway, it doesn't take away that the original track itself is not like the Daft Punk song, so they change it into something that is really, really interesting, and for that they use all their sound capability and all their sound secret to make it very special and to make it their own. So you guys need to build your sort of sample library, okay? And this will be your own. This will be the sound that you're going to use in your tracks. And my last advice about making this is to sample or to use parts and things that come from different environments. This is back to the kitchen and back to the cooking. This is what a great chef will do. He will use a bit of tomato with a bit of whatever herbs that he finds. You know, it has to come from different places. Most of the time, recordings that are not very interesting are made with guys using one sample CD of drums and one either sample CD or one synth, like Massive. You know, if you do your song with a loop of drum and the Massive plugin synth, it's probable it's not going to be very, very sexy and very interesting. What's going to make your track interesting is if you use a little bit of percussion that's coming from an African sample CD, like the Spectrasonics one are amazing, or whatever, and then you're going to use a bit of guitar that you've sampled from, I don't know, whatever, then a bass synth that's going to be like a real bass, and so basically combine all that. But to be ready, you need to spend some time in making your own music library, sound library. And making your sound library, you will identify the beat elements and the elements that maybe are going to be good to make hooks. Like, oh, you're gonna sample a synthesizer, and you're gonna, like A-Track did, you know, you're gonna find that, oh, this preset of the Mellotron is so special and it's so different, and I haven't heard it before, and I really like it when I play it and everything, and so I can make something out of it. Done. Bang. You got your main sound for the hook. That's it. Is it clear? Do you have questions? Is it super boring? Probably. Are you still there? Okay. It's okay if you have to go. It's clear. If you guys have more questions, please just ask your questions now, because actually I have to leave now to catch a plane. But of course we'll keep going. Probably the next workshop will be on drum programming and making beats, which is something that everyone needs at some point. But I would say that if you have in mind that you want to be special, that's the workshop one. 2, you make a good hook, and 3, you make it out of a sound that is special. It doesn't have to be complicated, but it just has to be special. Then you're on the right track to make something interesting. Then what we're going to talk about later is how to transform the sound, of course. How to use a good source and to change it and to put it in your session so that it sounds crisp and interesting and good. And so this is basically exactly what Daft Punk are doing. And this is what so many other artists like Skrillex or like all the geniuses of electronic music are doing. They are using good sources, or even sometimes bad sources, but that's really for the really expert ones. So good sources, and they are like then tweaking the sound to make it their own and special. And this is what I hope you can do. Send me your hooks on MartinMusicWorkshop.com. I'm disappointed because I don't get many questions, but that's okay. We'll do maybe something that's more of a Q&A later. And anyway, good luck. Have fun. Okay. That's a good question. What about author's rights when you use samples that are not yours? So I'm happy to have this question because, well, I answered it already, but I'm going to re-answer it because it's very important. When you use something that's not yours, and it's recognizable and obvious that you used it, you're going to need to declare it. But this will happen only if the track has a real commercial use. Meaning that for the moment, if you're just going to drop your sound on SoundCloud and share it with your friend, you can just sample anything. You can just go for it. Don't be shy. Go for it, because that's also how you're going to learn, how to do things. And eventually, if you use a sample like the Daft Punk, if you use a big sample of a big disco track that's very famous and everything, well, you're just going to declare it. You're just going to say, I used this Salsoul Orchestra sample from the 70s, and I made this track, which is mine, and well, cool. there's going to be a discussion between the owner of the copyright of the Salsa Orchestra and yourself. There's going to be a split. It's going to be a share, and it's going to be fine. And so don't be shy. Don't be afraid. Do it. Another quick tip that I can give you, because about the source, the ingredients that you use in your tracks. A very interesting and powerful source of sound that can be used for hooks are basically acapellas, are vocals. Obviously, a hook is very in a pop song. A hook is a vocal. A hook is you got to show me love. That's a hook. But of course, if you guys are not singers and you still want to have some hooks in your song, you can do it by using acapellas, sampling one word or one little bit of whatever and play with it. And it's gonna be, of course, it's gonna be super special. Very good example is this. So I'm not talking about the vocals, I'm talking about this part. This is something that my friend DJ Snake does every time. He samples a little A like that, or something like that, and then he just plays with it as an instrument, which is very easy to do. I'll show you how to do it in Ableton or in whatever, but it's easy. You put it in a sampler, and then you can play with it. And of course you can do this with anything, but of course vocals, frequency-wise, have naturally the kind of sound that are right in the middle of the range of the ear, so they are natural hooks sounds, and so it's a good way. You have that a little bit with guitars, you have that with horns, obviously, and you have that with a lot of synthesizer as well, of course. But yes, you can find acapellas everywhere. You can cut a little bit, a little piece, and then play a melody with it. And I don't know if the sound that was used by DJ Snake to make this part comes from the recording of the vocal with Mo, but I doubt it, because it was probably made before, and then they had Mo in the studio and she sung the song over it. So so typically it's alright and it's free to use a small bit of vocal that you're gonna replay, reproduce, tweak, change, make the sound different and everything, and this is gonna be yours, because if it's impossible to see what was used to make this sort of vocal sample, then it becomes 100% yours, and you don't have to declare that you used the acapella of Gwen Stefani or Madonna or MIA or whatever. So yes, of course it's a thin line. Of course, if you use a bigger part, it's gonna be obvious that you use something that is obviously not yours, and this is fine. You're just gonna share eventually. But how can we pick acapella from song with Ableton? Well, you're just to find acapellas, you have a lot of sources of sampling CDs. You can find acapellas of songs everywhere on the internet. I put most of my acapellas for free on the internet on my SoundCloud. A lot of artists are doing this. You can find a lot of acapellas everywhere. Yeah, you import the track and then you chop it. That's correct. Don't hesitate to communicate between each other if there are like some questions that you need to ask. But anyway, guys, I need to run. I think we'll go back to this because it's important, and there are probably some more questions that need to be answered. But I need to run. And what was your question, my friend? I didn't check it. You've made a heavily sampled track, signed it. I'm going too fast. Okay. Well, anyway, we'll figure it out next time. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me in the Martin Music Workshop. See you soon. have fun. Making music is such a great hobby and a great thing to do. So have